Developing today, did Prince Harry collude with the media outlet that tried to destroy my life on lies? Will he finally be rumbled for his truly dodgy dealings with the hard left media? And are the royals making a sartorial point this week by being out in force in grey suits just after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle made a huge deal about it being the men in grey suits who are trying to destroy them? Well, actually, this week, the royals in grey suits were William, Charles, and Catherine. Now, Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network, we know that the royals very often make points based on what they are wearing. And I think that happened yesterday. But by the way, just before I get your analysis, I have to show you this video of Catherine maneuvering her way down these stairs in that incredible grey suit, because she's had a lot of credit for this. Oh, Brittany. Brittany, look at her. And I mean, the way that guy was looking at her, his eyes were sort of wide and ugly. But look, I genuinely think there is a serious point to all of this, Brittany, because of course, what Harry and Meghan didn't understand with their ludicrous 1990 style put down is that these courtiers are only doing exactly what their principals want them to.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely, Dan. And they're there to protect the institution and the people that they're working for. And so when you actually work with them, wouldn't you know it, they actually want to protect you. They go out on a limb to make sure that your, let's say, ideas or narratives or whatever, maybe something that dominates. But Harry and Meghan, instead of seeing their staff people as allies, saw them as, let's say, I don't know if you want to call them enemies or something. And so what they did is they made their own staff so angry that they were more than willing to turn against them. And I think when it comes to the rest of the royals, they fully understand that their staff members are there to help them, help promote them, and help get their message out there. And that's exactly how they should be looking at members of various royal teams. They're there to be helpful. And Harry and Meghan just didn't quite understand that. And I think Catherine and William, especially, and even Charles as well, have been able to generate a lot of loyalty from their teams by just being great employers. And I think we see this reflected in how they're operating, and you can see the mirror of that, or the kind of the disastrous mirror of that, and how Harry and Meghan have treated people who work for them.
And Brittany, what was quite cute too is that when Catherine was there, she actually said that Prince Louis wants to be a pilot and all three children will be upset that she has seen an RAF Typhoon without them. And again, this put paid to a lot of speculation that maybe Catherine and William were trying to discourage their children from entering the military. I don't think that's the case. I think they're very modern parents, though, and they don't want them to feel forced into a pursuit that they may not have an interest in.
Yes, Dan, I can 100% see that Catherine and William are, of course, allowing their children to develop their own interests, which is great because if Louis wants to be a fighter pilot or whatever, he might be actually able to do that. And if he feels like he has the freedom to pursue that role, I do think that is a fantastic thing. At the same time, too, though, I've seen a lot of young royals, especially because we have a lot coming up of age in Europe, and a lot of them are undertaking military training and experience. And I think there is, even though maybe that's not necessarily what they wanted to do, I think there's a great benefit as well in having that experience and being part of the military apparatus of their country and the experience. And I think sometimes the just engagement that they get from that, I think is something that's so important as well. So I hope definitely George and Louis maybe have some military service, maybe Charlotte, but we shall see in the future. But I think the Waleses are definitely giving their children the freedom to figure out what they have a passion for in life.
Brittany, a lot of covert messages being sent by the royal family this week because there was a lot of consternation about Prince Harry making that trip to Ukraine, ignoring British government advice, even going face to face with Zelensky against their wishes. And so this week, the royal family sent the most senior royal to the war zone thus far. It was the Royal Princess Anne. And I'm learning, Brittany, that this comes at a time when Prince William has been denied the security clearance to go to Ukraine, which is one of the reasons why Harry was almost desperate to steal his thunder.
Mm. Well, I think, Dan, when it comes to Princess Anne going, she is a fabulous representative of the British monarchy. She is hardworking, she's intelligent, and she takes no grief from anyone. She is going to do the work, she's going to do it to the best of her ability every single time. And so I think she is a fantastic representative to send, because the big difference between Anne and Harry is that Harry was there to glorify himself. He was glorifying himself through Invictus and through his pseudo, I guess, status in the country as sort of a heroic type figure. And so Harry was there just for himself, really, at the end of the day. And so was his meeting with Zelensky. But when it comes to Princess Anne, she is there to represent the British monarchy, the interests of the British people, and the British government. And so her visit represents so much more and so much more influence. And she can take everything she learns and brings it back to London to share with people who can actually make an impact, rather than Prince Harry patting himself on the back as he takes a train back to Kyiv and then a private jet back to London. And so I think we see the huge stark difference there. And Anne is just such a fantastic member of the royal family. I don't know how they could do it really without her in so many ways.
Brittany, disastrous couple of days in court for Prince Harry. I always knew this campaign versus the Daily Mail was going to be so bad for him, especially given his own shocking and nefarious behavior with the media over the past few years. Now, there is this ludicrous moment, by the way, where he tried to say, "Oh, I had no idea that my brother Prince William was going to be dragged into this case," even though his own lawyer, David Sherborne, had decided to make William and Catherine very much part of the whole thing. Now, let me tell you, Brittany, I've gone through a lot of these court cases. Your lawyer ain't doing anything without your express permission. Harry is totally engaged and involved in this case, to the point that he is on the video link telling people like Doreen Lawrence to shut up and turn their microphone off. So it's just utterly laughable to suggest that he had no idea that his brother was going to be dragged into this. And it just shows you he can't own anything. He can never just accept, yep, this is something that I've done. There always has to be a lie.
It was so ridiculous. And then that Harry's trying to walk it back all of a sudden. It's like, okay, dude, you had to know that this was coming. But the other interesting side of this as well is that I thought Harry was sort of the main guy in this court case. And yet, in order to, and obviously there's probably more going on that we don't know, but the big revelation was that Harry's lawyer was talking about what happened to William and Catherine, not Harry. And so Harry's suing on behalf of something that didn't happen to him, and something that his brother and his sister-in-law have sort of just put by the wayside and have accepted the fact, which is true, that the media has changed a lot since the early 2000s and don't consider this case something worthy of pursuing. And you just got to wonder, why is Harry even doing this case if the best evidence he has doesn't even involve him? It's just sort of absolutely ludicrous and shows how pointless all of these court cases are in just every single way.
A massive £35 million waste of money, Brittany. That's
Mhm.
what this is. By people who have more money than sense and actually should just go and live their wonderful
Yeah.
lives, but instead are so hell-bent on revenge. But look, this one is very personal to me, and I'll just sum it up very quickly, Brittany. There is a hard left media organization called Byline Times. About 2 years ago, they conducted a completely false witch hunt against me. They actually tried to get me locked up into prison. They tried to suggest that I had broken the law by paying money for stories, including Megxit, to aides working for Prince William. It was a total lie. It was a complete and utter lie. Harry sent a pre-action letter, never had the balls to actually go through with it and go to court with it, but he'd already gone to the police with it. He'd already gone to the palace with it, even though this was just a fantasy. It was a total fantasy in his head. At the same time, Byline Times also tried to destroy my private life using totally nefarious means and very bad actors who were determined to destroy me. So I've always known, and I've always been very clear about the fact that there has been collusion between Prince Harry and this organization called Byline Times. My understanding, Brittany, is that there are even financial links between them, and that Harry was very much determined to get Byline Times to continue this campaign against me and to take me out. And this is why it's personal to me. I don't usually like talking about this, but given that Byline Times have now come up as part of this case, really everything that I was saying 2 years ago, Brittany, people should understand that it wasn't some type of conspiracy. It was fact. Harry and Meghan wanted to take me out. They managed to do so in the mainstream media because GB News and the Daily Mail didn't hold firm. They managed to silence me for about 6 months while I had to go through these investigations. But actually, now they have not shut me up because we are in this brave, independent media world. So it backfired anyway, is the point that I'm making. But what has emerged in this court case, Brittany, is that Byline Times has, I believe, been colluding with lawyers for this case to try and subvert the legal rules that there are in the UK. It's quite complicated, but the Salty Duchess described it this way, saying the leaking and planting of stories is a dirty game. The ruse by the legal research team was apparently to get around the 6-year rule by planting news stories on a website, Byline, claiming the Daily Mail was involved. It started with email planning, then the stories were planted in the Byline Times, then they used that as new evidence that comes to light. All these people need to go to jail for fraud, including Harry. This does not look good for Harry. The court has heard that Harry cooked up a scheme to do a workaround the statute of limitations law by funneling stories and information into the Byline Times. Harry has been funneling exclusives into Byline Times, and now it has been alleged in court that it was doing so for use of evidence in court to bring about old cases. And Brittany, the thing that's so extraordinary about this, and honestly, people won't believe it. People will not believe it because it's almost so extraordinary and so hard to believe. Byline Times is a criminal operation, Brittany. The person leading this investigation, right, and leading the lies into me is a convicted phone hacker, one of the biggest phone hackers in the history of the British press. And he is in court with Prince Harry, working with Prince Harry on all of this. So it's like you have got down into the swamp, mate. And now you are being exposed and you deserve it.
Yes, the irony and the hypocrisy there, Dan, for you is just absolutely insane what they've done. And Harry, of course, can't let things go. He is constantly wanting to revive these old grievances. And number one is just simply not healthy. I don't think Harry's in a healthy headspace at all. But these are situations that have been laid to rest years ago, and that Harry is maybe trying to drive up these old stories to get evidence for his court case proves how flimsy the whole thing is. And this is just an exercise in ego and vengeance that will probably lead Harry to ruin. And once again, he'll be forced to pay out, I'm sure, huge legal costs for another case he's lost. And Harry is trying to pursue these to fix his life. And I hate to break it to Harry, but none of this will fix his life. None of this will fix his family. None of this will fix his relationship with his wife. These are all fruitless, pointless efforts. And if he would let them go, I think he'd be much happier in life.
100%. And by the way, Harry, Dan Evans, this bloke who you are now relying on at Byline Times, He was the dodgy, dirty phone hacker, okay? I never hacked a phone, used a private investigator, did anything illegal in my journalism ever. I've always done my journalism the good old-fashioned way, through contacts, through speaking to people. And what Harry could never understand, Brittany, is that so many people were disgusted by Meghan Markle's behavior within the royal family, that they wanted the truth to emerge. And they knew that I was one of the only journalists in the mainstream media at the time, Brittany, who was prepared to actually put my neck on the line and run these stories, which came at quite a personal cost because there was a real risk to them. And so when you start doing that as a journalist, when you're prepared to tell the truth, then lots of other people start coming to you because they trust you. They trust that you're going to protect them as a source, but they also trust that you're going to report the truth. And the reality is I was the first person to blow up this comfortable consensus that, oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everyone loves Meghan, because it wasn't fine. It wasn't fine. And Harry never could accept that. So he always had to try and claim that something illegal had gone on. How could I know these things? How could I know about Megxit if it wasn't illegal? But let me tell you, there's nothing illegal about people who are horrified by certain behavior speaking to journalists, as long as they are not taking payment for that information, as long as they are not breaking any contractual obligation. And so Harry tried to get me locked up. It failed. He's still trying to get Piers Morgan locked up, by the way, even today. So as I say, none of this is paranoia. None of this is conspiracy. He has actually demanded that the Metropolitan Police reopen their investigation into Piers Morgan. And he genuinely believes, oh, if I can take down my enemies, then the truth about me won't be written. It's delusional, Brittany. Look at this brilliant world that we're in now of the independent media with people like you, according to Taz, P. Diner, Lady Colin Campbell. You just report the truth too. So all Harry hates is the truth. That is what this is about. But I just want to take people through what some of my reporting was a couple of years ago, by the way, just so you get some type of context and some sort of understanding about what Byline Times actually did. And my piece was headlined How Prince Harry was involved in my sick takedown by a convicted criminal at Byline Times, and why the British MSM gave in to those dark forces. The Duke of Woke played a critical role in cancelling me for reporting the truth about his wife. And I asked the question, why would Prince Harry have such close links to a discredited hard left blog peddling lies on a daily basis and paying convicted criminals to act as journalists? It's a prospect so unlikely that it seems hard to believe. But I have learned the disgraced Duke, now one of the most unpopular British royals in history after viciously turning on his own flesh and blood and the Commonwealth itself, has cultivated a private working relationship with Byline Times to pursue one goal: taking down his enemies in the British media. And it was no surprise to know that I was top of the list. Now, Byline are the sort of dodgy outfit that no one should take a word of what they report seriously. Run by the thoroughly unpleasant fake news merchant Peter Jukes, it has launched obsessive campaigns against tabloid journalists hired by Rupert Murdoch, women's rights campaigners like J.K. Rowling, and true conservative British politicians for many years. But most of their so-called scoops are ignored because the claims are so preposterous, usually based on false information provided by discredited sources driven by malice with significant axes to grind. Jukes is an unsavoury character who is idolised by leftists like James O'Brien, Carol Vorderman, Marina Purkis, and in recent years, Harry. It's astonishing that the fifth in line to the throne would be considering talking to such a disgraceful publication that is totally unregulated and reliant on convicted criminals for some of its reporting, unless, of course, they had been conducting his dirty work. And Brittany, I feel vindicated, okay? Because these links that have now emerged in court between the Byline Times and Prince Harry's legal team prove, at least in terms of what I've seen, I mean, the case is ongoing, but in terms of what I've seen, prove that there has been collusion.
Harry definitely wants to get his delusions out there, make them part of the reported system or what have you, that he can't just accept that people just came to dislike his wife and because of her dislike him and just wanted to go to the media and get their story out there because they knew Harry and Meghan were peddling lies. And what Harry just doesn't seem to understand or just simply even can't comprehend is that the more lies he peddles, the more people are just going to come out of the woodwork wanting to correct the narrative. And that's why so many independent outlets have popped up in so many ways, is because Harry and Meghan are notorious for sharing, in my opinion, a lot of lies, misinformation, misleading information. And so people come in and correct the records. Oh, Meghan says, well, I didn't want to wear beige to clash with the royals. And yet she's still wearing beige. So obviously that was not entirely true. And so Harry needs to accept that people don't like him and his wife and stop trying to act like the dictator of North Korea, controlling all the media, because that is not going to make the situation better. His behavior might help the situation, not attacking the media and colluding with sort of terrible media outlets, ones that don't do their proper research or will publish anything if it goes with their narrative, is something that's sort of despicable, in my opinion, to associate with.
Look, this is how the Daily Mail reported it, Brittany. And of course, they have skin in this game, okay, because the case is against the Daily Mail. But they write, Prince Harry's case against the Daily Mail, legal researchers hatched a camouflage scheme to mislead the High Court, the hearing is told. And they report it this way, Brittany. Legal researchers working for Prince Harry and others hatched a camouflage scheme to mislead the High Court in the trial they are bringing against the Daily Mail, a hearing was told today. Damning emails involving fellow claimants Sir Simon Hughes show astonishing discussions about how to cheat the legal system, it was alleged. Actress Sadie Frost also faces questions about whether she misled the court. A 9-week trial is due to start in January to hear the claims by the Duke of Sussex, Baroness Doreen Lawrence, Sir Elton John, Elizabeth Hurley, David Furnish, and Ms. Frost, who alleged the Daily Mail hacked phones, tapped landlines, and bug cars, all of which it denies. But at a preliminary hearing today, it was revealed the legal research team working for the Duke and the others had apparently discussed how to get around strict court rules that potentially threatened their plans. So under the law, privacy claims must be brought within 6 years, otherwise they are time barred. The limitation law exists to ensure justice for all parties and to prevent evidence being tainted by fading memories or potential witnesses dying or otherwise being unable to give testimony. But the emails unearthed from 2016 to 2019 reveal members of the legal team, including experienced solicitor Mark Thompson, convicted phone hacker Graham Johnson, and former Lib Dem MP Evan Harris, were apparently involved in discussing how to circumvent the rules. Anthony White, KC, for the Daily Mail's publisher Associated Newspapers, read out one email and told the court what jumps out in the email and strikes one as astonishing is that there was what I call limitation camouflage being put in place. You only need camouflage if you have something to hide. The ruse considered by the legal research team was apparently to get around the 6-year rule by planting new stories on the Byline website, claiming the Daily Mail was involved in hacking. Then they would pretend the claimants had discovered they were potential victims from these articles, when in reality, they had already been discussing suing the newspaper, but risked running out of time before the 6-year limit, it was suggested. Senior solicitor Mr. Thompson, whose firm was then called Atkins Thompson, was apparently involved in the idea. An email headed Daily Mail hacking sent by Dr. Harris to Sir Simon, a former Lib Dem Justice Minister, on the 11th of July 2019, stated the Mail hacking claims are being developed and will be ready to launch soon. To deter the Mail from arguing limitation, Atkins Thompson think it's best for stories to be written in byline, which can be referred as the basis for claims being raised. Mr. White said Dr. Harris had asked Ms. Frost for a quote for one of the byline articles, and in the case of Sir Simon, had proposed that a byline article should be written which can be referred to as the basis for claims being written to deter the Mail from arguing limitation. David Sherborne suggested Mr. White's characterization of the emails was dramatic. The judge, who's already angry, by the way, with Harry, Mr. Justice Nicklin, said of the emails, it tantalizing suggests, that is the impression I have at the moment, that by that stage there had been amassed pieces of the jigsaw. Associated newspapers strenuously redressed the simply preposterous allegations. Last year, in a trenchant defence of its journalism, the publisher submitted detailed defences to the claims to the High Court, explaining the legitimate sources for the information in each article complained about, including in one case, naming a former Home Secretary as being the source of a story about Baroness Lawrence's son, Stephen Lawrence. The case is projected to cost £38 million, a manifestly excessive amount of money, two judges ruled earlier this year. So, Brittany, effectively what's going on here, and I know it's detailed, that is technical, involving a lot of names that people may not have heard of, but what this is showing is that quite clearly there is collusion between these lawyers, who Harry is now involved with, and Byline Times. And I believe that has been going on for many years. Byline Times has been used not as a journalistic outfit, but as a propaganda outfit designed to take down Harry's enemies. It's shameful. And look, Brittany, this whole case is shameful. £38 million. You say you're a humanitarian, Prince Harry. Imagine what you could do with that money. It's sick.
It's really quite astonishing, Dan, because you have to think about this, and I've said this multiple times. Really, the only people winning in all these lawsuits Prince Harry is bringing is his lawyers and nobody else. Harry looks a fool almost every time he's in court. He has a tendency to lose or just not even finish the case. My suggestion to anyone attached to this case with Harry is to abandon ship as soon as humanly possible, because I just don't think this case is going to go well for them. And to be honest, again, a lot of these things happened years and years ago. Maybe it's just time to move on and let it go, because the media landscape has changed and you're not really going to enact what you want. I don't think anybody is going to get out of this case what they want, except for, again, the lawyers. The lawyers are making all the money here. I think this is a massive waste of time. And I think the collusion, or the alleged collusion, between Harry and the Byline Times, I think is pretty despicable, but it's not a surprise. Harry and Meghan only go with outlets that just push their narrative and don't ask them a difficult question. And this is just another example of that, how they're using the media, despite claiming to hate the media, to push their own agenda and making sure anybody they go along with is only willing to do that and nothing else.
Yeah, even if it involves working with a convicted phone hacker, a convicted criminal. It truly is astonishing. It really, really is. But trust me, what this is about, Brittany, is trying to terrify people into silence, terrify the Daily Mail into silence. We've seen that's why the Daily Mail have really turned on Catherine and Prince William in recent months, and it's sort of working to an extent because they're becoming much more favourable to Harry and Meghan before this case. And so you could argue that some of these threats are working, but it's very, very disturbing. And I hope that finally this relationship between Prince Harry and Byline Times, which I know exists, and there's much, much more I know, and that I'm working to confirm, I hope that it all unravels over the coming months, because this case is ludicrous. Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to RNN, the Royal News Network, on YouTube for all the best royal analysis from royal families and monarchies across the globe. Brittany, thank you so much. Great to have you back.
Meghan Markle speaks about family, work, and life after royal duties. Meghan Markle has spoken in detail about her family life, her marriage, and her work routine in a new interview following the release of the trailer for her latest Netflix programme. According to Harper's Bazaar, a house manager formally announced Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, when she entered the room to meet journalists, even though no other guests appeared to be present. The article said this reflected the continued use of her royal title during her day-to-day engagements, despite the couple no longer being active working royals. Meghan, who is 44 years old, told the magazine that one of the first things that attracted her to Prince Harry was what she described as his ability to draw out childlike wonder and playfulness. She explained that she had been deeply drawn to this aspect of his personality and felt that he brought out the same qualities in her. In the cover interview, she said her husband loves her boldly and fully, and added that his playful nature has become part of every aspect of their life together, including the way they approach business. She said she wanted the two of them to play, explore, and be creative, and that she trusted him completely because no one in the world loved her more. The couple, who have been together for 9 years, stepped down as senior working royals and moved to California in the year 2020. They now have 2 children, Prince Archie, who is 6 years old, and Princess Lilibet, who is 4. The Duchess, who recently released the trailer for the Christmas edition of her Netflix series with love, Meghan, spoke about life as a mother of young children and said she valued being able to work from home. She explained that her office is located next to the kitchen and that she enjoys having her children close throughout the day. She said that her daughter Lilibet sometimes climbs onto her lap during meetings, whether she is discussing profit and loss for her lifestyle brand or working on creative ideas. Meghan said she had strengthened her personal boundaries in response to the pressures of public life. She explained that people learn to protect themselves, either as a form of self-preservation or simply as a part of growing up. She added that she often reminds herself to treat her own mistakes with the same compassion she gives her children when they face challenges. She said she watches her children confront tasks that seem overwhelming, and she encourages them by telling them that what feels difficult now will eventually become easy. She explained that she applies the same philosophy to herself as a founder, and said that there is no such thing as perfection. The Harper's Bazaar feature also reignited debate about Meghan's continued use of her royal title. The article noted that when she visited school children at an archaeological dig site in September, someone shouted her title as she stepped down from a golf cart. Prince Harry is expected to make his first appearance in Meghan's Netflix series when the Christmas edition is released on the 3rd of December. Although he has not previously appeared in the show, he briefly features in the 65-second trailer where he and Meghan share a kiss in a kitchen. The programme centres on Meghan offering hosting advice as she cooks alongside celebrity guests. The first season, released in March, received harsh criticism from reviewers. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex signed their high-profile contract with Netflix in the year 2020, shortly after leaving their roles as working royals. The agreement has been widely reported to be worth more than $100 million United States dollars. In August, the couple announced that they had signed a multi-year first-look deal with the streaming platform for film and television projects. Meghan described the agreement as a sign of the strength of their partnership, despite speculation that Netflix may be shifting its focus away from their content.